green economy. Shri Arun Jaitley ji.
The Honorable Chief Minister of Jharkhand, my colleagues in the Government of India, the Speaker of the Assembly, Ministers of the State Government, Captains of the Industry, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. We've just now heard a speech by the Honorable Chief Minister which displayed his determination to change the course of history and economic development of the state of Jharkhand. The Chief Minister did mention that on this very day today, 16th February, 105 years ago, the Tatas had chosen this part of the country for their first major steel investment. And obviously this decision must have been made because a renowned business house saw the potential for establishing a major steel plant and making an investment in this part of the country. In fact, Jharkhand had many firsts at that time. Venkaiah Naidu ji just now spoke about creation of smart cities in Jharkhand. India's first planned city, much more than a smart city, Jamshedpur was created decades ago in Jharkhand. And slowly thereafter, whether it was Chandigarh or Gandhinagar or New Raipur, we've been trying to replicate that example. When I was hearing a brand ambassador and a sporting icon, MS Dhoni, I was telling the Honorable Chief Minister that Jharkhand also had the distinction way back in 1928, when the first ever Olympic gold was won by India. It was a son of the soil of Jharkhand who went and collected it as India's captain. So it had a great tradition even amongst the tribal community of sports. But it is equally true that even though investment kept trickling into Jharkhand because it had a mineral resource, the progress was uneven. A very large section of its population continued to live in poverty. And obviously the full potential of state could not be exploited. When I look back, I can attribute it to two initial reasons. The first obviously was a flawed economic policy of the governments at that time, where we thought that it was the government and the state whose primary responsibility was to invest, administer businesses. And there was an inherent reluctance in allowing major and big industry to come and participate in the economic progress. Besides policy, there was a second important reason. When Jharkhand was a part of the larger state of Bihar, a political model was developing which envisaged that you don't need economic development in order to win elections, but you merely have to indulge in some kind of social engineering, and by that process of social engineering you could win elections. And for a fairly long period, that social engineering in preference to developmental politics dominated the center stage of this region. And the result was very obvious that we could never exploit our economic potential and our resource to the fullest. The roots of a desire to have a separate state, to take control and govern ourselves, was born out of this sentiment. And it was expected that the creation of separate state itself would enable people in Jharkhand to govern themselves, exploit the potential of the state, and grow faster. Initially, this hope was partly belied. There was political instability, and if I can be more candid, there was a stigma of corruption. And therefore, in today's world, where investor is the chooser, and the investor has several multiple options, he doesn't like to invest or fish in troubled territories. Finally, we've now seen the maturing of Jharkhand, both from the point of view of governance, also from the point of view of policy. And for the first time, under the leadership of Shri Raghubar Das, you have a stable government in place, and a government which has made economic development of the state as its prime agenda. And in a short period of time, a state like Jharkhand, people were stunned when we saw the rankings. It started ranking amongst the first 3 states in India in ease of doing business. It's a state which has amongst the richest mineral resource. It's a state which has a lot of potential for growth because there is still a deficit in terms of urbanization, in terms of creation of infrastructure. We will still need more highways, more airports, more connectivity, more cities. And therefore, because of this deficit, the potential both for investment and the potential also for getting returns on those investments would be great. Curiously, Jharkhand is one of the very few states in India which can pride itself as a manufacturing state. The contribution of manufacturing and industry in Jharkhand is slightly higher than the services sector in the state. A phenomena which is very rare in India. And therefore, growth for potential in the services sector, as you have a manpower resource, more educational institutions, more cities, more hospitals, better services in several other areas. So the potential for growth itself is there. The Prime Minister has repeatedly mentioned, and it's a part of our national priority, that states towards the eastern part of India have historically had lesser development than those states towards the western. So if we drew a line through the center of India, there was always higher GDP growth to the west of that line rather than the east of that line. So both in terms of agriculture, also because of its inherent richness in mineral resource, and therefore its potential for improved manufacturing through value addition, there is a huge potential that the eastern states have. And amongst the eastern states, areas like Jharkhand, areas like Orissa, which have been blessed with this natural wealth, therefore have a much faster potential to grow. And as a part, if we are to increase India's GDP, I do believe that Jharkhand has a potential today, with its natural richness and the potential for investment, to grow at least 4 to 5% ahead of the national average. Today, it is marginally about 1% above the national average. And therefore, if Jharkhand has that potential to grow, we need a partnership between the industry and an industry-friendly government, an investment-friendly government which functions out of Ranchi. So easier approvals, cleaner administration, elimination of red tapeism, exploring areas where potential for investment is there, I think what is needed. And as a part of our Government of India's priority, we stand behind the state of Jharkhand. Our own priorities are that we are putting in the maximum amount of public investment into agriculture and into the rural areas. We are putting in the maximum investment into creation of infrastructure. We are putting in the maximum investment in terms of our centrally sponsored schemes which deal with the social sectors. We have emphasized on areas like affordable housing, which would be a necessary component of greater urbanization, which is likely over the next few decades. And I do feel that a partnership between the center and the state, catalyzed by the huge response that I see from the industry, both in India and internationally, the best of Jharkhand is about to come. I'm sure that by taking this great initiative in organizing the first ever global investors meet in Jharkhand, the state has taken the first major step, and I'm sure future holds itself very bright as far as the state of Jharkhand is concerned. Jharkhand is, because of its natural richness and the potential for investment in various areas, could be your natural destination of investment. I wish to assure the Honorable Chief Minister and all the investors who are here that all departments of the Government of India would strongly stand behind the government of Jharkhand in its endeavor to make the state grow faster and faster than ever before. Thank you very much and wish you all the very best.